Israel's happy with the ceasefire. Why not? The people will be there. There will be no food, no water, no fuel, no electricity. There will be no shelter. And at some point, there will be only two options left for the people of Gaza. One, to leave, or two, Hamas resumes its armed resistance, and then Israel will have the pretext for round two in the horrors. Now, you may object to what I'm saying on the grounds that, but the ceasefire incorporated humanitarian assistance and eventually reconstruction in Gaza. I don't believe that's going to be remembered. After Operation Pillar of Defense in 2012, the Israelis had to decide whether to agree to a ceasefire. And the ceasefire included provisions for ending the criminal blockade of Gaza. And the defense minister of the time was Ehud Barak. And Ehud Barak famously said to the Knesset when they were debating whether to sign the ceasefire, he said, in order to encourage them to agree to it, he said, once the ceasefire is in place, everybody forgets about the rest. What you agreed to, everybody forgets it. And that's what's going to happen here. If bombs aren't dropping, if people aren't dying of violent death, which one has to distinguish from a death from starvation, if bombs aren't dropping, if people aren't dying of violent death, then it disappears from the headlines. Once the hostages, and on both sides, the hostages are exchanged, it disappears from the headlines. And the only time it will reappear is if Hamas then says, what happened to the humanitarian aid? What happened to the reconstruction? Because Israel won't allow it. Of course it won't allow it. We have a long history. One of the sad things about listening to pundits discuss the matter is they have no knowledge whatsoever of the history. There was an agreement to lift the criminal blockade of Gaza after Operation Cast Lead in 2008-9, after the Mavi Marmara incident when the humanitarian flotilla came under attack from Israel and it created an international scandal. There was an agreement to lift the blockade. After Operation Pillar of Defense, after Operation Protective Edge in 2014, nothing came of it. It's all exactly, very cynical, but very true what Barak says. Ehud Barak said, the defense minister, once the prime minister, he said, once the ceasefire is in place, everybody forgets the rest. And after Operation Protective Edge in 2014, there were provisions to ease the blockade of Gaza. And as we all know, nothing came of it. And that was actually the preamble to the Great March of Return in March 2018, the attempt to get that blockade lifted. And actually, I think that was the main stimulus behind the attack on October 7th, that blockade of Gaza. So I see no reason to anticipate that what happened multiple times in the past won't happen again. The humanitarian aid, yes, the first few days they're going to let in humanitarian aid. Then they're going to conjure excuses. They're going to say that Hamas is stealing the aid. They're going to say that we can't admit cement because Hamas will use it to reconstruct the tunnel system. And all sorts of pretexts will be created. And then the people are going to be faced with a very dire choice, whether to stay and starve and be homeless, or to figure out a way to leave. And for Hamas, there will be the stark choice of honor the ceasefire, notwithstanding that all the other provisions under stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, all the other provisions are discarded.